So a couple of months ago, I saw this Andrew Huang video where he was using this microphone instrument to control his DAW. I was totally intrigued by it. So I got in touch with the team at Vochlea and they were kind enough to send me a copy of their Dubler Studio Kit. This instrument is very cool and it opens up some new possibilities in production. Essentially what it does is it converts the mic signal into MIDI information, which then could be sent to a VST or hardware instrument. By the way, my name is Stranger and I provide knowledge and tools so that you can succeed in making music. So we're going to dive deep into Vochlea's Dubler Studio Kit and I'm going to show you how I would use it with regards to bass-oriented music. By the way, Vochlea and I have teamed up and we're going to be giving away to one special person on the channel the Dubler Studio Kit. So stick around in the video. I'm going to let you guys know how to enter this draw. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare, but more on this later. If you enjoyed my content, I appreciate it if you hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons. That all helps my channel grow. Alright, without further ado, let's check out Vochlea's Dubler Studio Kit. Alright, so this is the Dubler app, and this is where your microphone information is converted into MIDI information. So what I'm holding here is the USB microphone that comes with Dubler, and this microphone links directly to the app. So there's two ways we can use Dubler, either as a drum trigger indicated by the triggers in this left panel, and then we could also use it to trigger notes, which is indicated by the right panel here. We're going to focus on the drum triggers and then I'll show you how we create notes with Dubler. Hit the plus sign to create the first drum trigger. What it's going to require us to do is come up with a sound that's got to be used to trigger a particular sound. For example, we might want the sound boom to trigger a kick and a ka to trigger a snare. Really, it could be whatever sound you're comfortable with making. It doesn't have to be any specific sound. It could be a moo or meow, and that could be used to trigger sounds. It's really up to you. So I'm gonna hit train, and then we're gonna have to repeat our trigger sound 10 times for the Dubler app to analyze that sound and come up with a general sound profile for that trigger. So I'm gonna hit train. Boom, 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 boom. And here's the second sound, and this will be the snare. Ka, 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 ka. And then let's add our hi-hats. Chit, chit, chit. Alright, so we have 3 sounds mapped to Dubler now. So I have addictive drums here, so I can show you how we can map Dubler to a standard drum kit. First thing to do is under acoustic drum or whatever instrument you're using, choose Dubler as the MIDI from, and then just make sure the channel is correct. So flipping back to Dubler, notice under here in the general settings, the MIDI channel for the drum triggers is number 10. So just make sure we're on number 10 here. Now normally if you're recording, you would record to a metronome or to a drum beat so you can keep it on rhythm. However, I've been blessed with very poor coordination, so I'm not the best at doing this, but luckily, Ableton has a way to calculate what you're tapping in if you're just tapping in freely without using a metronome. So I'm just going to tap in a beat with my mouth, and then I'm going to use the capture function, which can then capture the recording and try to analyze what the tempo is. Boom, ka, boom, boom, ka, boom, 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 ka, boom, boom, ka. And then we just hit capture. And then we should have our rhythm. We have a nice groovy rhythm here. Nice. Now, another way you can use this if you're not comfortable mouthing a bunch of different sounds, you can mouth one sound at a time and then overdub and record additional sounds. So I have this other drum kit here, and let's just start mouthing off some rhythms. I'm going to start with the kick and build on top of it. Boom, 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 boom. Let's hit the session record button to overdub. And we have a nice groovy bouncy beat here. Now you could quantize it if you like to make it a little more on beat, but if you want to keep it more human, that's cool too. All right, let's map Dubler to an amen, and this time I have a fourth hit to hit a ghost snare. I'm using the sound B, so I have boom, ka, jippy, jippy, ka, to get that shuffle. So let's see if this works out. Now I have an amen here. The first slide, the boom, is mapped to a kick. The ka, C#1 is a snare. The ch is the hi-hat, so that's slice 2. And a slice 5 is the shuffle, which is the B. Now make sure that you have a longer release on your amen slices. Otherwise, you're just going to hear a staccato short note, because the way Dubler works is it records short drum notes. So if you don't have a release, you're just going to hear the amen sounding kind of cut up and chopped up. So just make sure your release is long enough to catch the entire slice when it plays. Boom. Ka chippy chippy ka chippy chippy. Bump it up to 170 beats per minute. Now if you like, you can quantize the main hits and leave the ghost notes intact for that human feel. And then you have a nice and groovy amen loop. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. If you're a beginner and you want to learn the basics of Ableton and drum programming, then I recommend you to check out my Ableton Essential Exercises on Skillshare. I have 3 levels of classes where you'll learn the basics from simple genres such as hip hop and house, and more complex rhythms such as drum and bass, dubstep, and footwork. And I'll be working on a new class soon, so stay posted. For those who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes where you can expand your creativity and passions. In addition to music production, I would recommend you to check out their design and marketing classes, which are essential skills for a musician in today's landscape. The benefit to Skillshare is that there's no ads and it costs less than $10 a month on an annual membership. Also, the first 1,000 people that use my link in the description will receive a free trial of the premium membership. So check it out, and I'll see you at my class on Skillshare. Alright, on to the part that I really enjoy, which is mapping Dubler to notes. So over in the control panel, now I'm just going to disable the drum triggers for now. Notice that there are 4 triggers here, and these are mapped to different vowels from your voice. You have the ah, e, oo, and then envelope is just mapped to the general volume of your vocals. Now here's a foghorn sound in Serum. Now, little plug, this preset is available on my gnarly Serum preset pack, which is available for pre-order right now. If you pick it up on pre-order, you get a 10% discount. So check it out in the link below. So I have a bunch of parameters mapped to this macro here, which opens up the filter and some other parameters such as the FM and distortion. So what I'm going to do is in Dubler, I'm going to map that macro to a particular vowel. Now in Serum, I'm going to right click on the control and then hit MIDI learn. Now when you go into Dubler and then on the bottom, you find the MIDI controls here. Now I'm going to map the E to the control. So if you hit map, it's going to send some MIDI information to Ableton so it can pick it up. Notice that it's coming from number 1, so it's then mapped the MIDI controller number 21 to that particular macro control. Now notice when I talk into the mic, these controls move, so it's picking up all the vowels that are coming out from my voice. And then it tries to detect the key I'm singing or speaking in. So notice here it's kind of like a compass telling you what key you're hitting. Now there's a couple different functions that can help your process. It can try to detect the notes you're going to sing and then limit the doubler to those notes. Your voice may fluctuate between notes and it might affect the recording of the MIDI information. So you may want to restrict doubler to a couple different notes. Now if you click on detect notes, now we're going to sing into it. So these circles here refer to a specific note on the scale. So it's disabled all the other notes because we only sung 3 notes. So it's going to restrict Dubler to only pick up these 3 notes. So this is helpful if you know what bassline you want in terms of the melody and it's really just 3 notes. You can restrict it to those notes so that it doesn't pick up any other note fluctuations or bad notes that you may record. Now for the notes, it is mapped to a different MIDI channel. Just make sure you have the right channel. It's mapped to number 1. Now we can check out Dubler and see how it works with Serum. Da da da. Now it's recommended that you have really clear notes. So they recommend that you use the sound da because that da creates a punctuation, so it can recognize that it's a new separate note. Da da da. Now this sticky parameter helps as well, especially if your voice fluctuates, you don't have really good pitch, then the higher the value of the stickiness, the more easy it is for you to hold that note. So even if your voice is fluctuating between notes, it will hold that one note and it won't move over to another note that you may not want. That input level is the sensitivity of Dubler to what you're singing into the mic. Now by default, pitch bend is turned off, which means if you're sliding your voice down, it would just split it up into separate notes. However, if you want a pitch bend so that you get those kind of cool bass bends in drum and bass, then you can increase the bend range. I'm going to increase it up to 12 because that's really what I want, to have that long pitch bend bass. Now other things you can do, you can specifically choose a scale, or it can actually, if you sing more notes, it can pick up a scale. So we have a custom scale limited to these 3 notes, but if you sing a lot more, then it could try to detect actually what scale it is. So we could try that. Ba 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 ba. So after singing, it has a suggested scale here, so you can then click this and then it limits your notes to only notes in that scale. So again, that helps. But really, I'm going to keep it at the chromatic because I want to do that pitch bend. So now that Serum is mapped to the E, now I can use it to kind of modulate that foghorn. So I can kind of do a wobble, like ya 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 ya. Alright, so I have a beat here, so let's try recording some foghorns with Dubler. Ooey 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 wee 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 wee. Now, if you go into the envelope section, you can fix some of the envelopes. Let's say perhaps this one came in open and you didn't want it open. We can tuck that down. Alright, some pretty nasty foghorns here. As you can see, you can get some pretty expressive bass sounds just by using Dubler to modulate a bunch of parameters. Okay, this time we're going to do something a little more melodic. So I'm going to restrict Dubler to a couple notes to my bass line. So hit the vocal note detector. Da, da, da. Okay, so it's restricted to notes. Let's make sure the stickiness is up so we can hold the notes steadily. And then I have this Culture Shock style bass preset. So let's sing out a melody. Da, 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 da. Alright, so as you can see, pretty nice way to punch in your notes, especially if you don't play keys and perhaps maybe you don't know what the actual keys are for that melody. You can just sing it and then record it with Dubler and you have your notes. Now you may have to edit a bit to make sure it sounds a little more on time, but that's really up to you. You can leave it more human sounding or you could edit it and fix up the notes. Alright, so that's my take on using Vochlea's Dubler Studio Kit. And it's a pretty neat tool to add into your arsenal. By allowing to use your voice as a MIDI controller, opens up new possibilities in terms of sound design and even punching in drums. Alright, so here's your chance to win Vochlea's Dubler Studio Kit. All you have to do is like the video, subscribe to my channel, and then comment with a YouTube link to one of my tracks. I'll be randomly choosing the winner on Friday, January 29th, so make sure you enter soon. The Dubler Studio Kit has a retail value of $300 US, so consider yourself lucky if you win this. But if you don't win it, you can still buy it, and shipping is for free if you use my link below. So enter soon and good luck. Alright, that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you at the next video.